Hi and welcome back to my identity channel. This is my sixth video in regard to the topic of helping the children of mixed origins to build their own identity so they grow up as strong and self-confident adults. So again, welcome, and today's topic is country. So the question is, how does the country of origin of the parents or the countries of origin influence the building of the identity of the children of this couple? I've talked before already about one of the key words of this whole topic, which is roots. And if we think of roots, the first word which comes to our mind is country, because normally roots are going into the soil and keeping a plant in that area. So it is geographic, let's say. So how do countries influence the building of an identity? And I guess we start from, first of all, a continent, and then go to a country, and then go to a region and a city, and just getting down. If you meet somebody as a tourist somewhere and this person seems to be from the same country as you are, you start, where are you from? And then you start from the continent going to the country, and then you find out, oh, you're from the same country, which city? Oh, same city. And at the end, it happens often enough that you find out that you live 2 streets away, or that you even related. I heard stories about from people that really found out that they met somebody in a completely different country and they were related somehow. Surely not closely, but it happens. And if we look at the Afro-American community in the Americas, and that's valid for whole Americas, the continent, not only for the USA, as they were, many of them were brought there generations ago as slaves, so just forced to be there with real force and violence. They don't have the roots deeper than I must be somehow of African roots, but they often enough can't tell from which country, from which population they come. And this is really not helping, let's say. It must not be traumatic, but it gives self-confidence to know where you really come from. And we just have to understand that people are looking for their roots. But country is a political construct, so it's not given by nature, a part of idols maybe, but normally it's not given by nature where a country starts and where it ends, where the limits are. It's a political, historical development and decision or result of wars or whatever. And not always those country borders are identical to the population. So there are populations that are living spread over 2 or 3 countries. If we look at the Kurds, for instance, they are not only located in Turkey historically, but also in the neighboring countries. Or if we look at the Basque people, they are located in what politically is called Spain, but they are not equal to the Spanish population. And mostly they don't feel as Spanish. And this is a personal decision also of a community to where they feel they belong to. So we have also this construct of country is something where we have to think about, we have to reflect the history and the political aspects and so on. But the main point is, what do you feel as yours? Is it the country? Is it the population? But now we try to stick to this country idea. What happens when people leave their original country? they go alone or with somebody else, this doesn't matter, but they leave their country at a certain point in time and they go to another country. And they bring with them all the culture of their original country. And the longer then they stay in the new country and the more generations then come up in this country, the more far away is the connection to all those pictures and symbols of the culture of origin. So somehow it is like a flash, so that those images and pictures are frozen in time, and normally they are frozen at that time where the first person left. And this is why then they become more and more cliche. If you look at Chinatowns, and there are many all around the world, or at Little Italy, those quarters where, you know, many people live together that have one common origin, it is like somehow being in the original country and living that culture, but it is emphasized so much. To be honest, I've been to an Italian restaurant in Toronto one time, and I've never seen so much Italy in one small place ever before and after. So it's really the concentration of all what is felt to feed into this nostalgia of the original country. The same situation is not so much relating to symbols and cliches if you still have the connection to the people in the original country. But again, this is normally decreasing more and more generation after generation. But if you still have some relations to relatives in the original country or even friends, then those symbols and pictures and pieces of culture are maintained and not frozen. So they live, and then the concentration of cliches is not that high. So let's look at the children of couples which have different origins. Of course, the more they have relations to people who are still in the original countries of their parents, be it grandparents, be it some relatives, be it friends, whatever, the more relations they have, the closer they feel to that culture, because they can live it, they can feel it, they have a better understanding of it. And the best case, of course, is, as I mentioned in my interview with my daughter, where I said I made sure that every year, once, twice, 3 times, we go to Italy and see the relatives and see the house, and, you know, bring her back to the roots. For me, has always been important, and that should also be important, if possible, for any parent who has a child or children in a different country, because there you can feed this identification with the country, which is, in a first step, of course, identification with the family. But there again, if they meet the family, if they see the area, the city, the village where their parents grew up, or the mother or the father, and they even see the house or the school where they went to, and see the landscape and culture, really the culture of this country, and live it possibly every year, the stronger this identification gets. But of course, it is a question not only of time, but it's also a question of money. So you have to have the money to fly. If you have moved to a country which is very much far away, you have to pay for the flight tickets for 2, 3, depending on how big your family is. So not everybody is able to do that. Fortunately, nowadays we do have those modern communication tools, and I know several families where they have weekly or monthly online chats with the grandparents, with some friends, with uncles and aunts. And this again invests into this identification with the country. I think this is a very good thing to do. It's not only building up those personal relations, which you can't have that strongly if you live far away, but it also builds up, the more love the children get and the more culture you give them, the higher their self-confidence will be. In those cases where you might not have relatives in the original country, what you can do is, if you still have friends there, maybe if it's just friends of your parents or children of the friends of your parents, so you have some relationship, you know each other, you maybe can build up a sort of family in that. So they could be more or less like godfathers and godmothers to your children from the original country. And also that helps building up this strong bond with the origins and the roots. It is then sort of a substitute family. And a part of having, two parents who come together in a third country and having then children, it, of course, in modern times, it can also become even more complicated. I have a friend who is German, and he has married a woman from the Philippines, and they live together in Germany and have a son. So they talk English with each other, and then he talks German with his son, and his wife talks Filipino with her son. And up to here, it's, let's say, the normal story. But the family of the mother from the Philippines moved to Canada. So now they live in Toronto. And now they are having family chats every week. And what I am really curious to see by time passing is if this son will build up some relation with Canada. I don't know, because for sure, even if it's a long trip, but they will go to Canada, or they even go already to Canada to see the grandparents from the maternal side. And so this child will grow up in Germany and will have visited often enough the Philippines, and now is visiting Canada. So at least it will open up even furthermore his horizon. But we will see if he will build up some relation with this new country in his family. The mother of a very good friend of mine, she told me the story that because she is born in Germany from German parents, and when she was very small, the father was sent to South America for work, and the whole family went with him, of course. And so she lived in Venezuela and in Colombia and in Costa Rica for the first years. Colombia was from her age of 2 to 6 years. And then later on, they moved to Argentina and stayed there. So she still lives in Argentina. And she married there, and she had 3 children. And she told me that she sent the children first to German elementary school, so that they had a solid German language, a part of speaking it at home. But then afterwards, she wanted them to be able to integrate in the mentality of Argentina. So they sent their 3 children to international schools, international schools. And then at a certain point, she traveled to Germany all by herself. She was already an adult, and she had never been to Germany in all those years in between. So since she left when she was really a toddler. And she told me how She arrived in Germany all by herself and having nobody there to wait for her, to welcome her. But strangely, she felt at home. So imagine after, I don't know how many years, but at least 20, I guess, or even more, coming back to a country. And at that time, there were no all those communication tools that we do have nowadays. Arriving there and feeling at home, it must be so strange and so overwhelming. And she then told me that last year she got a new television, and since then she has Netflix, and she started watching a series which is from Colombia, where she had lived from 2 to 6 years old. And seeing those scenes in the streets of Bogota, strangely, she had again this feeling of being home, of seeing her home country. So even if by genetics she is 100% German, and by, let's say, mathematics, so the years, if you count the years where she lived, Argentina should be her home, she feels German and sees Colombia as her second home. And the point is, the identity has nothing to do with math. It's not a question of quantity. It's not a question of facts. It's not a question of laws and rules or bureaucracy or borders or whatever. Identity is not science, is not data related. Identity comes from the heart. It's a purely emotional thing. And this is why you have to tell your children that they should feel free to somehow build their own identity. Strangely enough, I've been visiting at least, it's not that many, but at least 20, 25 countries in the world. And I felt well in every country up to now. But strangely enough, when I went to Cuba and I went to Mexico, those were the two countries where I stepped out of the plane and it felt like home. Don't ask me why, because I have no roots in there. I had never been there before. So it was just a feeling out of nowhere, stepping out of the airplane and feeling, oh, I'm home. You can't give a reason for that sometimes. You just accept it, or you don't. You do with this feeling whatever you choose to do with it. This was today's topic. I hope you enjoyed. I'm trying to bring all the different aspects of this whole identity topic one after the other. It's just a sharing of thoughts. It's just a discussion. And that's why I would so much love to read in the comments your personal experiences and points of views and opinions, so we can start sharing with each other. Thank you very much for the time you have taken to listen to me. I know sometimes it's a bit long and it's a bit boring sitting here in front of the camera all by myself. I will try to have other interviews by the time, but for the time being, after the interview with my daughter, you will have to just listen to me. I'm sorry. If you enjoyed it, please leave me a like. Even more importantly, please subscribe to my channel. And I hope to see you next Sunday again. And as always, be kind.